Hey, what's up with everybody? How's everybody doing? Welcome to Sports with Ray. You see me, I'm looking a little crazy. Mm, Try to put the hoodie up, but whatever, man. It's all good. It's been a minute since I've been on here. The college football season and the NFL season has started. We are officially, not officially, but the end of summer. After Labor Day, everybody considers it fall, even though fall doesn't start till like September 22nd or the 21st or something like that. But anyway, I love this time of the year. You know, you get to wear the majority of your outfits depending on where you live at. You know, I'm down south. I mean, like up north gets a little colder, a little quicker, and stays that way. Down south, it holds on a little longer. So either way, I'm happy about this time period. Just wanted to hop on here real quick, just talk about a couple things near and dear to my heart. As far as I'm just going to start with my teams. Start with the Ohio State Buckeyes. Buckeyes winning 45-12. I'm just going to give my synopsis, my quick analysis of it. C.J. Stroud. It's funny. Okay, one thing I said I wasn't going to do, I wasn't going to hold back, so I'm not going to hold back. Let's go back to, Ohio State beating Notre Dame when they were number 5. Of course, Notre Dame looks crazy now being number 5 after they lost to Marshall at home and they started 0-2. But they were number 5. Ohio State lost their number 1 receiver, arguably the best receiver in the country, which kind of threw off their offense. The main question was really about their defense, but it was almost funny. It's almost as if because they didn't score how people anticipated them to score, they got knocked. They switched up their whole offense and went to a power run game to seal the game. The defense, who was the question mark the year before, came and played lights out. The last 6 drives that Notre Dame had were all punts. And they got dropped to Oregon. And they got dropped because Oregon got whooped by Georgia. Nothing against Georgia. Georgia's the defending champions. I get it. That was an impressive win against the 11th ranked Oregon Ducks. They didn't look number 11. Maybe Notre Dame didn't look number 5. But I've never seen a team win against a top 5 team and drop. I've never seen a top 5 matchup where the winning team dropped. But whatever. I mean, the defense showed up. They looked more in position. Eichenberg, let me apologize because I used to talk crazy about you. And what it seems to be is like a lot of people that I thought about last year, you just weren't put in the best position to succeed. So you looked to step slow because the defense that you guys were in was out of position. Because the way you play right now, starting from that Rose Bowl game, you play a little bit more downhill. You're playing faster. You're playing more read and react football, and you look crazy in a good way. Like you are flying to the ball. You are flying to the ball. My bad, my fault, people like to talk crazy about people, but when they're wrong, don't like to admit when they're wrong. I apologize. You look like an animal out here. The defense is flying around. I'm still curious to see about the secondary. Denzel, who's supposed to be our best corner, even though originally Cam Brown really should be is supposed to be the best corner. But look, maybe Denzel was more suited for the coverage last year. Maybe this is a little more difficult, but he's also only a sophomore. But he had his problems. One thing about Denzel, who's a very good player, when he struggles like that whole game. It's almost as if, say if a good shooter gets in a bad shooting streak, like just need somebody to be like, hey man, you cool, and snap him out of it. And so, but anyway, yeah, so victory against Notre Dame. Then we go against Arkansas State. Butch Jones, who used to coach Cincinnati, and then Tennessee. Now he's there. The quarterback Blackman, who used to be the QB at Florida State. And they had a wide receiver. The wide receiver was doing his thing. Number 7, I can't remember the dude's name. He played for somebody else as well. That was their one offensive threat. But I like I like what I see from Ohio State right now. They're flying to the ball. They have so many. I mean, and again, JSN didn't play as a precaution. Didn't need him. Fleming, I hope Fleming hasn't been healthy since he's been here. So you would love to see like let him get a healthy season and then go on because he was the number one rated receiver in his class, and because of injuries, kind of falling behind. And then and what's happened in is these first 2 weeks, Emeka Ibuka has had a chance to shine, and Marvin Harrison Jr., who was quiet in the first game but loud in the Rose Bowl, was very loud. And so that being funny, it's almost as if Julian has to come back. I mean, I don't want him to get more injured, but because you may not get any burn, because you got Johnson, you got a couple receivers that you may not get any more burn because you figure Smith and Jigba. I mean, I know they're going to line him up all around, but it's essentially looking like it's going to be Smith and Jigba, Ibuka, and it looks like Ibuka was the one who was going to be the odd man out because Fleming was going to start, and then Harrison was going to be in there regardless. So, I mean, of course you rotate the receivers in, but you want to get in there. If you want to get what you want to get, you want to be one of those top 3 receivers. But as far as the synopsis of the game, to think about Ohio State is playing dominant football like they should be, while there's still a lot of correctable mistakes that they're making. Last year, there were mistakes that they couldn't correct. They just tried to put a Band-Aid over it because it was more scheme and they couldn't change it. So they did the best that they could do to their ability. The struggle that they had, I would say, looking at the Notre Dame game, I mean, they mentioned that they essentially did Ohio State, how teams started to do Patrick Mahomes in the league. They wasn't going to allow them to get beat deep. So they put, 2 high safeties, cover 2, which means nobody gets beat deep, whether they want to go zone or man. They got the 2 safeties sitting back. They may rush 3 or they may rush 4. If you rush 3, that leaves 8 in coverage. You rush 4, that leaves 7 in coverage. So, so he just picked and chose his spots. As a good QB, that's what you should do. When they played Arkansas State, they had a little, there was more. They were superior, so they had a better chance to open it up. And he did what he needed to do. Got the stats where he needed to go. Marvin Harrison had over like 170 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 tubbies. Mayan Williams and Travion Henderson, they're a great duo. I like that balance. It's funny because whoever last year was the starter, the other one was going to be the change of pace backup. So, but they're all going to get their time. They're all getting equal time, which you love to see. On the offensive line, which is where my main questions are. I didn't like they put 4 tackles in there last year. And to have all that beef, they really didn't move the pile. But this year, they're getting better at it. Against Notre Dame, they controlled the clock. That was, like 14, 15 play drive to end the game. They ran 10 out of the 14, 15 times. So, they were controlling the line of scrimmage. Defense, Hale, number 51, is a monster. Number 44, TJ. And Sawyer, I see they get the majority of the run, which I love. There's nothing against Zach Harrison or John Baptiste. They just look like they're better. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like that's what the best teams, you may have talent and you may have seniority, but the best players need to play. And those are 2 5-stars that could have went anywhere they'll be playing. And to me, they look either as even or better than the 2 people that were starting. As you see, Friday, he's back. He's a backup. You got Williams as a defensive tackle. You also got Vincent. So they got a good core of rotating interior linemen. So they keep them fresh. They mainly go 2 linebackers. It's a 4-2-5. 4 defenders. 4 linemen, 2 linebackers, 5 defensive backs. And so the linebackers are Eichenberg, and then it's Still Chambers, number 22, and then also um, you see Simon come in a lot as well. I see Mitchell's mainly on special teams. He gets run a little bit as well. Um, and then for the safeties, you really have Hickman, Proctor, and McAllister. But you see Ransom get a lot of run, and Cameron Brown, and also Burke. So that's mainly the starting lineup. Ransom, is it Ransom? Yeah, it's Lathan Ransom. Yeah, number 12. He's like a hybrid, safety slot, and so you see Proctor missed that tackle, and Ransom played the majority of the game against Notre Dame. But I'm going all around. I just wanted to get my thoughts out. I feel like they did a great job. I mean, they have a lot of things that they can correct, but they look dominant with a lot of the issues. Of course, we'll see once Wisconsin comes in, I guess. I feel like they're going to be tested with a team that it's kind of like I mean, of course, Michigan's down the road, but I mean, the running team will test them, I feel, but you have to be able to score points, either score points or dominate the ball. So I mean, each of these teams are going to give a little test. They just want to get better each time. Let's say a 45-12. I mean, we did see a McCord sighting as CJ went out. I seen people tripping while CJ was in the fourth. Nobody's ever going to be happy. They got to get these reps in, but they took him out. Um, but the offense did what they needed to do. They started off slow a little bit. Going into that second quarter, once he found Marvin Harrison, when he finds a rapport with somebody, the way they schemed him open is beautiful, because you see that, I mean, with all the offensive talent on the field, they just really can't shade to one area. That will change once Jackson gets back. Hopefully he stays healthy for the rest of the season, and then that's going to open up even more as they build. So good win, 45-12 by the Buckeyes. They play Toledo this weekend, starting at 7:30 before the big fight, which is Triple G and Canelo Alvarez. I'll speak about that in a second. We'll just change gears to the NFL. The first week was almost like college. And yeah, just before I go to the NFL, it was a crazy weekend in football just altogether, because you got to think about it. Alabama should have lost. The quarterback that transferred from Ohio State, Quinn Ewers, was carving them up until he sprained his AC joint, so he sprained his shoulder on the tackle, and then they barely won against an unranked Texas team and only dropped one place, and then in another poll they didn't even drop it all. Like, I don't. Anyway, I mean, yeah, they deserve it, but if you talk, I mean, let's go fairly. Like, how do you barely beat? You got two Heisman contenders on your team, and you only win by one against a team that had a backup quarterback that was a 22-point underdog, and you win by one, and you don't drop in one poll. Like, man, whatever. That doesn't make sense to me. Texas A&M losing to Appalachian State. Shout out to Michigan. Y'all know how that feels. Big petty. But that's life, They almost beat North Carolina the week before. Y'all better stop scheduling them. Nebraska, you see, they lost to Georgia Southern. And then after that, Frost got fired, which it was the right thing to do. I don't advocate people losing their jobs, but when you have that kind of pattern, like when you're in, like, his record could have been flipped. So you're in the majority of these games and you continue to lose the games the same way, Like, after a while, something has to change. Either you start winning the games or you have to let the person go, because instead of it creeping in, when you win those type of games, your players are going to say, hey, we're going to win. But when you lose the majority, like 5-21, 5-22, in games decided by 3 or 7 points or less, or 3 points, like that's unacceptable. I mean, they're not thinking they're going to pull those games off. How they lost to Northwestern was, I mean, you can't do that, and that's how Dallas looks. That's how the Cowboys find a way to lose those type of games. Just over the course. When you see, I mean, the Bears, we do that too. We do that a lot. So when you see tendencies like that, and then you're not disciplined and penalties and everything, you have to change that. I mean, I know. I mean, man, those dudes are billionaires. They'll figure it out. Even universities, they not going broke firing a coach because they got unlimited money. You got now NIL deals that you can do, $1 billion deals. Like, y'all be all right. Like, that's not going to make y'all broke, especially when Nebraska, that the football program brings in the most money. So, uh, Florida lost to Kentucky. Shout out to Kentucky. Doing it, starting to put years together. Bob Stoops' brother, shout out to Mark Stoops, doing, solid victory. They wanted to claim Florida was back. I mean, they may be back, but they ain't back. BYU beat Florida. I mean, no, excuse me, BYU beat Baylor. Corso called that. Even though BYU was the favorite. USC got out to a lead and almost blew that to Stanford. It was a wild week. It was a wild week in college football. Then you go to the NFL. You see Buffalo on Thursday, dog walked LA. It's not uncommon to see the champions, when the day they get that ring, for some reason, it's going to go either all good or all bad. And a lot of times it goes all bad. And so, Matt Stafford, getting his interceptions on. Tricky Mitchie, what I'm saying, as I call him, for Pittsburgh. Joe Burrow turned over the ball 5 times and still almost won. The Bengals look like every season besides last season, finding a way to lose in the craziest way. I mean, that was the same way they lost last year to Green Bay. Everybody just kept missing field goals. It's crazy. I used to live in that area. I don't know that little area. I don't know the little wind trajectory, the trajectory, right there by the Ohio River. I don't know. That was a real good game. San Diego winning. Khalil Mack looking like how he looked when he played for the Bears. And that first game against Green Bay came out. Hopefully he'll be healthy. I ain't even mad at him. I'm not mad. I said we had to trade him. The movement that we were trying to do. Shout out to the Giants getting the win. Atlanta may be cursed. I live down here. The way how they lose the same way like Nebraska lose. They lose that heartbreak fashion same type of way where you can't describe it. You can't describe it. Like, they find the ways to lose. So, shout out to New Orleans. They got the dub. Shout out to the Bears. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know how we're gonna look this season. Like, of course, as a fan, I'm unfortunately a Bears fan because it's funny like how we become so faithful and loyal to these teams, whether they're good or not. Like that. I mean, it's the definition of insanity. That's how I feel. Like, they could be good or bad, and we still stick with, like, we'll go through that same pain all the time. Like. And people make it seem like you're not loyal if you choose another team. But in real life, you don't have to stick with bad situations all the time. But with the Bears, I ain't going nowhere. It's unfortunate. Now, if they wouldn't have drafted Justin Fields, that was my breaking point. After all the quarterbacks they put us through. But thankfully, I want to thank John Lynch for being the smart guy. Somehow Justin Fields, it was arguable, to at least to some people, who's better between Trevor Lawrence and him. Of course, we know why they got, Trevor cold and all that, but I'm just saying, like, Trevor's last 2 big games, He got whooped convincingly, and that didn't affect his stock. Justin Fields came out and got bladed, sat out a play, came back in the college football playoffs against Clemson, made a great play, you know what I'm saying, touchdown, threw 5 touchdowns or 6 touchdowns, and his draft status dropped. Because I don't care, man, I don't care what anybody's talking about. This is where, man, Mac Jones ain't better than Justin Fields. Trey Lance ain't better than Justin Fields. Y'all talking about, man? Where y'all getting, like, what? And so San Francisco decided to choose Trey because they know there's a ceiling on Jimmy Garoppolo. You know? And if you put Justin Fields if Justin Fields was San Francisco's quarterback and we had Trey Lance, we would have got destroyed. We got destroyed. Everybody seems, it's almost like they're blaming Trey Lance like he's not young out here. Like, what do y'all expect? And Justin ain't that, you know, I mean, his stats didn't show it, but when you see key plays, they show plays where, hold on. Like, basically, our offensive coordinator, Luke Getsy, I thought that Nagy was still there. I don't know. You know, like he was stealing all the signs or something. Because how they called that first half, I mean, I know field position was bad and everything. And everybody talk about the weather. The weather was bad for everybody. But if the weather was bad and San Francisco would have won, y'all wouldn't have been making all this craziness. But it's like Chicago won, and y'all shocked that y'all said they had the worst roster in the league. And you saw at one point, Chicago made plays. They made plays. Like Debo fumbled. He didn't, like, you know, then a ghost didn't just steal the ball from him. Like he got you know, the ball got punched out by Jalen Johnson. Like, they made plays. The defense made plays. The defense was top 10 last year. Top 10 to 12. So, like, they were making plays. They couldn't, like, San Francisco couldn't capitalize. They let the underdog get close. Justin was shackled by the play calling and whatever the hell. They looked uptight. And once he scrambled and started getting loose, he did this literally against San Francisco last year when he had to, it's like when they make him, because of the pass rush, do something exceptional, like when he scored that touchdown last year on 4th and 1. And it was the best play he had of the year for him, one of the best plays. And just like he got out of the pocket, kept his composure, he's going through his reads, and then found Pettis on the sideline and then ran up the field for a touchdown. That was great to see. And then after that, Chicago looked like the better team. It's almost as if everybody's just, well, it was raining, it's a monsoon. But they didn't get anything off. You know? Like, you got to give Chicago some kind of credit. I don't get it. Of course, I mean, it'll stick more like we have to do it against Green Bay. There's a way that if we beat Green Bay, though, I'm going to see they're going to blame it on the Green Bay receivers anyway. So, but I love our victory. Those are the games that we used to lose. Those are the games we lost with Matt Nagy. Those type of games. And we had discipline, which we didn't have with Matt Nagy. That discipline matters, man. You know, when things go bad and your team is still holding the course and still, you know, weathering the storm and not making situations get worse, they're keeping them in there. The morale picked up. Like, okay, did somebody just make a play? Sometimes that's all you need. Like, our players made the play, even though it was, the weather, it being ugly and some of that stuff attributes to some of that. But damn, give them credit. So shout out to the Bears. Let's continue. I don't know what we're going to look like this year. I would have loved to have more talent, but, you know, I guess, you know, when you're trying to rebuild, I guess you have to see what you have first before you can add on. And, you know, as Bears fans, we're impatient because we're tired of that shit. But it's still smart. It's smart. You see what you have when you build a new house. You know, basically you remodeling the house, so you need to see what you can keep, what you need to remodel, what you need to get rid of. As long as they're decision making continues to be in that way and it makes sense, even if I don't agree with everything. If you make sense to me, I don't have to agree with it, but I can respect it and I'm able to deal with it. That's the problem. Just in life, a lot of things that we do, people don't, if they don't agree, they automatically don't respect it. And then they cut off the lines of communication and then they just get into their feelings and emotions. It doesn't have to be like that. You know, you can agree to disagree and talk about something else, or you can see somebody's point. You know, a lot of people don't make sense though, but that's okay too. Let's talk about this fight. Let's talk about this fight. Triple G versus Canelo, who just lost a couple months ago to Bitroff, who got dominated. Canelo, you know. Triple G is perfectly made for Canelo to win. Triple G is old now. He's 40 plus years old. This fight was supposed to be made like 5 or 6 years ago when they were ducking him because they knew Canelo didn't want that smoke. They were the same thing. That's when he was with Golden Boy. The same thing that they accused Floyd of. They literally did that because they knew, even though Triple G isn't the best technical puncher, like Canelo can box, but when people that can box against Canelo give him problems. And he ain't fought that many boxers. He usually fights brawlers that come forward, and he looks good against them. But he don't want to face Benavidez. And I love Charlo. Don't seem like Charlo want to face Benavidez either. Because he ain't a big money draw. Charlo really and I said Jamal Charlo really wants Canelo. Of course, because that's the biggest name in the sport. And in your division. So him facing Benavidez, he got more to lose. But at the same time, he feeling like boxing is boxing. But that's why, that's how boxing is. But Canelo definitely ducking both of them. And then he ducked Triple G until he got older. And Triple G really won that first fight. Second fight, I mean, you could go either way. The fact that when Triple G lost to Bivol and they made it a split decision, or they made it wasn't even, it was unanimous, it wasn't even close. And then I thought about it. When he fought Floyd, they did like a split decision or something like that. I don't know. Canelo be having judges in his pocket when he loses. When he loses convincingly because when he realizes he can't beat him, he starts getting frustrated and his whole demeanor changes. He kind of pouts a little bit. When he like that, damn, I ain't about to win. Not to say he ain't the only one, but I noticed that. So I would love to see Triple G knock him out. But at 40 something and Canelo's still like in his young 30s, like Canelo should win. But with stuff like that, what usually happens is Canelo could be winning, and if he did, because he feels like it's personal, but if he gets too emotionally attached to it, that's when you get Triple G a chance. You know what I'm saying? Canelo wants to stop him, so I want to see it happen. I want to see, you got to show me. Show me. And then I also found out, as we saw, that Anthony Joshua is going to fight Tyson Fury in December. A fight that was supposed to be done 2 or 3 years ago when they were both undefeated. They waited. Now we done seen Joshua get whooped a couple times. I mean, it's not going to be competitive to me because Fury's a way better fighter. I don't know why he even fight Usyk, but I'm like, maybe they're waiting until next year to build it up. I get it. And then Joshua, especially, R.I.P. to the Queen of England. Also R.I.P. PNB Rock too. I feel like, especially all England fight, Joshua and Fury, it's going to break the gate. It's going to be the biggest fight in Europe ever. So that's why they got to do it. They were supposed to do it 2 or 3 years ago. It's 2 or 3 years late. And they still signed the contract, and we still ain't seen what's up with Spence and Crawford. And I remain hopeful. I'm not even a person I have friends since I moved down here that got me hip or as far as watching UFC. And I watch UFC fights, not as much as I like boxing way better, but one thing about UFC, they don't really they get those fights together. Like boxing, it's almost like they would have to see some money substantially They had to drop. They would like they had to get dry or something drastic that had to happen money wise before they figure it out. Because as soon as they get two fighters, they always make sure they don't fight. They try to build it up and all this stuff, and what ends up happening, just like who was it? Telefimo. He fought Kambosos. Oh yeah, that's right. Kambosos and Haney fight again on the 15th. Haney, man, Kambosos didn't want none of that dude. Like, he had nothing for him. Haney's a way better fighter. But Telefimo Lopez was really supposed to be fighting like a Haney or Javante or something like that. And then y'all bring somebody in, and now what's happening, these boxers that when they get their shot, they're making the best of their opportunity. And they're messing up. They're not messing up the money, but they muddle it up because the fight that you want to see now is delayed. Like, Kambosos smartly had make sure he got his rematch. He got soundly defeated. I feel like if you get soundly defeated like that, there should be some outs. But that's what you should put in the contract. So instead of us seeing Haney, Davis, even Haney, Stevenson, I said no, Stevenson fights on the 23rd of September. We got to see this shit again. Nobody wants to see that. And hopefully Haney doesn't go in there. Well, I don't think his dad will let it, but you beat him, not a little complacent, because you don't have an interest for the fight. Because you're the one with the belts now. And you want to fight other people, but I predict Canelo should win by a stoppage within the 8th or 9th round. Since we don't like the sugar foot, let's go TKO at 8. I would love to see Triple G win. But he just older now, he ain't as sharp as he used to be, So that's just my thoughts for now. I really appreciate y'all rocking with the kid. Like I said, Sports with Ray. More to come. Follow my YouTube page. You can follow me on Instagram, RayRob97. Follow me on Snapchat, Twitter. Also Facebook as well as TikTok. So check me out. More to come. Appreciate everybody. Everybody have a good one.